last thing the government mass media want is a conscious, informed public capable of critical thinking.
Let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi.
I want to be free. Free as a bird. Free as love. American blacks have been told they are African people. How so? When Deuteronomy 28:68 is prophecy of the slave trade, of the transatlantic slave trade, and identifies the Negroes in America as the real Jews. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. The scripture speaks volumes to my heart. And thou shalt bring thee into Egypt again by way of ships. Now keep in mind that during the time of Moses, the bondage, the enslavement of the Israelite people, ships were not involved in no way, form, or fashion. As well as the word Egypt is another name for bondage, as spoken in Exodus 20:2. As well as you know that there is an Egyptian pyramid on the back of the US dollar bill, which shows there is a symbolic reference to that of Egypt. And thou shalt be sold unto thy enemies for bondmen, slave men, and bondwomen, slave women, and no man shall buy you, meaning no man shall redeem us. Which means that upon the efforts of our brothers such as Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Frederick Douglass, my apologies, Messiah Marcus Garvey, so on and so forth. All these men, their attempts were not successful in buying us back from our oppressors. But this is all we hear about in school, in the history books, Black History Month. This is all they tell us about. All these men of Black American history. Why don't they tell us about anything before that? They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. You know, this is what the Willie Lynch letters made sure of, that we stayed divided. You know what I mean? Old against young, light skin against darker skin, house against field, male against female, old against young. You know, he came with a plan to mentally destroy us entirely, that we would no longer remember who we were. So, you know, it's no mistake that we're not told of our history before 1600s, before the slave trade. You know, it's to keep us in servitude, to keep our minds in bondage. And you had a few nations, to name a few, well, they have consulted with one consent. They are confederate against the tabernacles of Edom, the so-called white man, the Ishmaelites, Arabs of Moab, the Chinese, and the Hagarenes, to name a few. That is, I know who they are. The Hagarenes are the Egyptians or the Africans. So you have it there. You have the European nation, the Arab nation, the Chinese people, as well as the Egyptians or the Africans who came together against thee. And keep in mind that these nations that I named are also rich within the land of our captivity. So there you have it. The reason you won't hear this information in the public school systems or the religious institutions, because they both were set up by the enemy, by the oppressor. And by the oppressor, we'll be forced to forget our name, our heritage, and our homeland. Shah, Alu, Salam, Yerushalayim. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham.
Jacob, referring to the seed of Jacob, or the Israelites, dwelt as a foreigner in the land of Ham. Ham, as defined in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, is the progenitor, the forefather of the dark races, but not the Negroes. So Ham is a forefather of the Africans. But if he's not of that, the forefather of the Negroes, then the Negroes must not be of African descent.
In the Third Punic War, the Romans, led by Scipio Africanus, captured and destroyed the city of Carthage in 146 BC, turning what is known as Africa into yet another province of the mighty Roman Empire.
As I stand here confident to confirm that you, so-called black man, and you, so-called black woman, are the lost sheep of Judah that the Bible speaks of. Christ as well descends from the tribe of Judah, as described in Hebrews 7:14. There are many great so-called black leaders that we have known. Some we have not known of to be ourselves. King Solomon, as spoken of in the Songs of Solomon 1:5, says, I am dark yet handsome. St. Paul, the Apostle Paul, who preached in Rome in the Mediterranean area during the Dark Ages, was mistaken for an Egyptian. The ancient Egyptians fit the complexion of the Sudanese people. And Christ, as well as we know it, spoken of in the book of Revelations, has the complexion of burnt brass. It's time we wake up. America has spoken to us with a split tongue for too long. Shalom.
Hey, freedom's ringing.